5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom! We're now live. Hello, Andy. How you doing?
Hi, Carlos. Hi,
As you can see,
TheoConPod.
hey,
Yeah.
I've just been overprotective, so I better take this off because this face is sweating. I don't think you'll be able to hear me.
You need them gloves that go up to your shoulders as well, so you can like them cows, man.
How are
So
you? Are you okay?
yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Hi, TheoCons. Welcome to Theory Conspiracy. It's Wednesday, the 5th of August, 2020. For those people seeing this for the first time, I'm Andy, and this is Carlos.
Hello, Carlos.
Um, Together with our mutual friend Nick, we host a fortnightly audio podcast. This is our spin off livestream show where any reasonable and friendly discussion is welcome. These chats will also be available on our YouTube channel for as long as it's not banned or taken down. And also, the audio version might get published into our regular podcast feed. So if you are listening to the podcast version and you want to have a look at any of the visuals on these live streams, then please check out the links in the show notes. And come and find this video. So, Carlos, apart from the face mask, what's new in your world?
Oh, it's just thank you, everyone. Hope everyone's well out there. I've been doing this week. I've been doing lots of reading, lots of research, especially for the live stream and the podcast we've just done, 014. So this last week or so, I've just been doing lots of reading, lots of researching, and obviously watching lots of documentaries. But this week's been busy the most. We'll touch a lot on the subjects as we go through. But yeah, just lots of reading this week. So, what about yourself? What have you been up to?
It's pretty similar. I'm off this week again. I've had a few days off, not gone anywhere this time. A few little trips here and there, and some stuff planned for later in the week. But literally all my free time, Carlos, has been looking into stuff you've been sending me about what we're going to chat about. So
And I'm sorry for bombarding you. Like,
I
I
know.
know I bet your wife hates me because I know I've been sending voice messages at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't. I've literally reading some literature or watching things and putting it all together. And I got right. I've got this idea, and right putting it together, and I just realised, shit, it's 3:30 in the morning. I thought it's probably going to ping and wake him up and wake his family up. So I apologise, everyone. I
My
apologise.
phone's always on mute, so don't worry about that.
Okay, it's okay. I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing it.
Fine. Okay, so looking at my show notes, we've got like 2 or 3 big subject areas, and we've had another one dropped on us yesterday. We've got to mention David Icke again. Carlos, you wanted to discuss face masks, the recent Pentagon UFO statement. They were a couple of things you bombarded me with.
Yeah.
Before we get started, quick social media update. So Kyle made a comment on YouTube. It's the first time he's watched one of our videos. He usually listens to us on audio format. He thinks Mayfair that we discussed on our last live stream is probably money laundering rather than people smuggling. But also, he said that after seeing Carlos for the first time, he said you weren't quite what he pictured. So I'd love to find out
Don't know
what
what
he
that
pictured.
means.
I know. I'd love to find out what he pictured.
Probably blonde
So
hair, blue eyes, wig, boobs, a lot. I don't know. Big lips, big wig. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. So
But nice, Kyle. We read all your comments, so nice one for listening, mate. We appreciate that.
yeah, cheers, dude. And if anyone makes it onto the live stream and they want to ask us any questions or make any comments like that, we've got the chat open. There's a slight delay, but we will keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
So podcast updates. Sunday the 2nd just gone. Was mainly dedicated to David Icke. If anyone's listened to that already, we mentioned him quite a lot, so we thought we'd just discuss him and have a little bit of a quiz about him on the main podcast. But Carlos, as we also mentioned on the podcast, there was the Ike Rose 5 broadcast from Real London on Sunday.
Yes. Right.
What did you think about that? Any interesting points raised?
Well, obviously they spoke about how he was allegedly the first person to refuse to wear a mask. I know that annoyed you straight away. He didn't travel to the United Kingdom because he refused to wear a mask on the ferry. So he says he says the word the word of the day or word of the year. What David Icke is saying is acquiesce. I'm not acquiescing. For those who don't know what the word acquiesce means, it's basically um, bowing down to the government, reluctantly agreeing to something which you don't agree with. When you acquiesce, okay, I don't agree with masks, but I'll wear a mask. So basically, that's what acquiescing is. So he said he's not going to wear a mask on the ferry or when he's doing his normal day shopping. And so, like Brian Rolls once said, or did say, if Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain, or sorry, if the mountain doesn't go to Muhammad, Muhammad goes to the mountain. So he says he's going over to David. I think it's the Isle of Wight, Isle of Man. Is it? He lives in the Isle of Man, and he did the
Isle of Wight.
Isle of Wight. Sorry, he did the Rolls. So Rolls Ike #5 from there. A lot of it was he was just putting it together how the whole journey, how all his 30 years of research training has come together, and it's all like how all the pieces and the puzzles being put together. That's what that's what he's basically was talking about, and he's been right all along. But the first one he talks about was obviously the masks, how the mask and nonsense and stuff like that. But I have my personal opinion on masks, but obviously I was wearing a mask. That's the first thing you saw me with, wearing a mask. But that's the things I picked up on is sort of like he talks about the mask. That was the first, because you watched the first 10, 15 minutes. I think you were quite irate after watching that.
Yeah, we'll come back to mass separately. We've got a separate section on it. Yeah, I mean, I've not watched any of the Rose Ike broadcasts.
Neither, none of them.
Sorry?
None of them. You not watched any of them.
No. Number 5 was the first one I thought I'd watch. Because you were telling me how the stream wasn't working and they've taken him down already. They've taken him down. Yeah, in
They even
fact,
had the hashtag ban, didn't they?
they even had the hashtag ban. In fact, I've just thrown some graphics up over there from that I got from the thing. But yeah, so literally they already had a hashtag banned ready to go because of obviously the stunt they did with the first one. I'm still going to call it a stunt. You think it was YouTube brought them down, but so yeah, I literally listened to the first bit, and the first bit we actually discussed some of this in the podcast. So you mentioned that his Rose Ike 1 was like the most viewed live stream, and I know we broke this down on the podcast, so I don't want to go over the numbers again. However, at the beginning of Rose Ike 5, Brian Rose started reeling off all these stats. So I've got a few quotes here. So one of the first things he said was, Rose Ike 1, we reached the second highest YouTube live streaming viewing figures that day with 65,000 viewers. Now I've already broke down the fact that 65,000 is nothing compared to some of the other live streams that we know are record breaking. If you look at that sentence carefully, he's saying highest that day. 65,000 was the highest on that day, not of all time, which is what you read into it. It was the highest that day.
Of that day.
You have got to be listening to what these guys are saying, man. Right? So he then went on to say that
Didn't he have millions or something? He had millions at one point, said.
No, he went on to predict that video would get 400 million views, right? That's just his prediction, right? No, there's no facts to back that up, and that it would have got there. It was just a prediction he made, and 400 million is 5% of the global population would have had to have watched that. If his prediction was right, okay, at the moment, that video has had not at the moment, on Monday when I was checking the facts, that video had 1.4 million views on the London Real website, right? So, and that is with the extra media attention it got from being deleted off YouTube, right? Correct. So that figure should be well higher if he expected it to get 400 million, because how long ago was Ike Rose 1? Was it a month ago?
I know it's probably, I want to say March.
Was it? Well, ages ago, and it's only up to, I mean, don't get me wrong, 1.4, it's a lot, but these figures are just being made up. He then he was talking about Ike Rose 2, so Ike Rose 3, he actually quoted, I made a note of this, he said, we've had 1.3336 million. And I went, why don't you just reel off the whole number? Why can't you just say 1.3? Why are you trying to make the number sound like it's almost 4, but actually it won't even round up to 1.4. So I'll go 1.3336. I'm like, oh, shut up, man.
But the thing is, the people are wanting to listen to him. Obviously, I know you can start dissect the numbers, but clearly there's a market for it because he's created a new platform called freedomplatform.tv. So I think when he last mentioned, I think I think so 30,000 people have donated to him. So I think he raised 1.4, 1.5 million. That was about 3 or 4 months ago. Money. So clearly the people are willing to listen to him. They're giving him money to build a platform. So there is a platform for David Icke and Brian Rose and David Icke. It's just you just need to think. Oh, yeah, the figures we can look at the figures, and we can say he's probably manipulating them. Like anything else, you can actually manipulate stats, can't you? And make him look better for you,
Yeah.
or you can make him look worse. But it's the message he's putting across. But that's the thing I look for. Obviously, I did mention the stats, and obviously, the way you said it, maybe I need to look a little bit deeper into him. But I think the people still are listening because clearly his followers have gone through the roof because obviously now his Facebook page is more popular. His Instagram followers have increased, but all that reverts into money. It makes a lot of money out of all that.
Yeah,
So
that's
what did
true.
you? Sorry, when you actually listened to the little bit of Rosaic 5, did you get anything from it, or do you think okay, I can understand that, or did you not like it at all?
I absolutely hate. I had to turn it off. I can break. Yeah, I mean, I'd I'd be surprised if I got 10 minutes in. I
Okay.
listened to the bit where he said he was the. I mean, I think you sent a graphic or a meme about it as well, about Ike saying he was the first person to refuse to wear a mask, and I thought,
Yeah.
and so I listened to it, and I actually caught that little bit right at the beginning, and I thought, oh, that's an Ike thing to say. I wonder if he's being metaphorical. I wonder if he's going to turn around and say, I was the first person to refuse to wear a mask because I woke up 30 years ago. I took my mask off 30 years ago. All you people sat at home watching the TV, going doing 9 to 5 jobs, doing what the man tells you to do. You've all still got this mask, but no, he literally thinks he was the first person to refuse to wear a mask. And then he goes
He
into
hashes
this
it.
he goes into this story about 5 minutes to midnight on the day that the rules came in. He was catching a ferry back and he was the only person in the viewing deck because he wasn't in his car. And he goes up on the viewing deck, and the guy says, "You've got to wear your mask." And he goes, "I'm not wearing a mask. The rules haven't come in yet. It's 5-2." And does he really think he was the only person in some sort of situation or venue uh, in that couple of minutes between uh, Friday night, Saturday morning, when the rules came in force?
I
There
think
must
it's
have been
probably.
there must have been hundreds of people in the same situation, and right, everyone, you got to put your mask on. No, I'm not doing that.
I think probably he was probably might be the first to publicly mention it and get sort of banned for it, kind of thing. So I don't.
It's not
Obviously,
what he's saying. I mean, he's not got banned. He didn't get banned for anything. All he did was the captain came down and said, Mr. Ike, I realise there's no one else in the viewing lounge, and you won't wear your mask, but will you put it on while you walk off the boat for me? And he was like, why should I do that for you? And blah blah. And it's just like,
I don't think he
just
means literally, but I think ban as in like the first one that like publicly talk about. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing it. I think that's what he was probably trying to aim at. But yeah, I understand what you're trying to say in terms of like it could have been. It's clearly it's another. It's like a great sound bite because if you look at it, I'm the first person to decline it or refuse to wear it. So it's a great
yeah,
sound bite.
it's
It's a
like
great
bragging rights for him. It's like
yes.
bragging rights. And I remember from the conference we went to, nearly every single scenario or thing subject he talks about, he's got this little story about how it personally happened to him and how this happened, and he stood up to the man. And he's either the most unluckiest, the most luckiest, or the most coincidental person alive to have all these convenient things happen to him so he can talk about them in his little stage shows and things. It's just like, oh come on, it's just a sales pitch from him.
Yeah, he
You know,
has to
I even had to
have
look
to
up,
tell himself.
Carlos. Sorry, man. I even had to look up if there were any ferries at the time. He said, and actually, there were.
Okay.
So you know, but
So he's telling us.
that's how much I doubted that the story was made up. But you know, there we go. I've got a couple more examples that really wound me up before I hit the snooze button on it. He says he said so after the mask he's saying so in fact when lockdown started and the government said to me you can only go out once a day. He went, I'm going to go out when I bloody like. No one's telling me what to do, and if a policeman comes to my door, I'll ask him to explain what's the difference between me going out once a day and socially distancing myself from everyone that I
Yeah.
come into contact with, or going out 10 times a day and socially distancing everyone that I come in contact with. Explain to me the difference. And I'm like, first of all, a policeman ain't going to come to your door and ask you that. Second of all, the reason why that doesn't make any sense is because if you were, you know, if a policeman was to explain it, or if I was to explain it to him, the big difference between once a day and 10 times a day is once a day limits the amount of people out on the street, out in
Mm.
shops, blah, blah. If you go to the same shop 10 times a day because you keep forgetting something,
More interaction.
there's good, and everyone else does it, the place is going to be packed. It's going to be a lot harder to socially distance. So that's why they're asking people to go out once a day. Not because there's no difference between once and 10 times a day. It just makes it easier because there'll be less people out on the street and going about the business.
Because David Icke doesn't believe there's a virus; he believes it's a hoax. So
Yeah.
that's why because obviously
It
you
doesn't
can't.
matter what you believe. Doesn't matter what you believe.
So he thinks so his terminology, he's under house arrest, so you can't tell him to go. If you tell him you can only go shop say once a day during this buying period, he thinks you're going against his human rights. So he honestly believes it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. It's a way of
Yeah.
controlling and preparing you for the next phase of people. Because he was saying things like, "What happens in China will happen in Europe." So whatever's happening in China now will happen in Europe again. So that's what he's preparing you. That's why the government are preparing you for something. That's what he's saying. So he
Wow.
doesn't want you to sort of. He says, "No, no, I'm going to acquiesce. I'm not acquiescing. You should say. I'm not going to bow. I'm not going to reluctantly agree to something which I don't agree with." But
Right.
yeah, that's David Icke and Rose, and pretty much that's what he talks about in Rose Icke 5. They just kept rehashing and sort of going back over the last 4 episodes and just. I don't know if there'll be a Rose Icke 6. I don't know, but I think they'll be milking it if they are. So I think the fifth one wasn't as good as the previous 3 or 4.
Right at the start, David Rose asks in his introduction, because he reels off all these stats and he says, "We've talked about this, and he reeled off everything they talked about in the previous four, and then he says, so David, what's the solution? Give us the answer. What do we need to do? There's no way I was sitting through 2.5 hours to find out if David actually answered anything because I reckon he probably didn't. So did he answer that question?
The answer is you just don't do it, don't obey it. Just because they said the example he gave is when the people during the Black Lives Matter were protesting, and when the people went to, do you remember we had that beautiful bank holiday weekend, and
Yeah.
everybody hit the beaches, and nobody could do anything. It's literally the police goes, so be it. When when just before the Black Lives Matter started processing in the United Kingdom, I think the week beforehand, people were literally crucifying Dominic Cummings about going out and X, Y, Z.
Go in the
But
castle.
when and when the Black Lives Matter protests went ahead, there was so many of them that they just go keep doing it. And that's what he's saying. If lots of people don't agree to it and don't acquiesce, then the government can't do anything. So it's all about love, peace, harmony, work. It's that old saying: the people united will never be defeated, and that's his message basically.
Oh, okay.
But if you've got 10,000 people don't want to put masks on, how are you going to stop 10,000 people?
Yeah. Well, look at all these spikes we're getting now. So I've always said it's always about this 2 week period is rubbish. This 2 week isolation period. It's
Yeah.
always it's always about 4 weeks. Um,
But we've
but
not
yeah,
had a massive spike after the process, did we? We didn't have it all when we
No,
when
we're
you
getting it now. It's been about 4 weeks since that bank holiday, is it?
no,
So we're
it's been
getting it
bank
now. Look
holiday
at
was May.
Oldham.
It was in May time, so that's 2 months. We're in
Was
August
it?
now,
Okay,
so
maybe, but we're definitely getting all these spikes now anyway.
it's just, and obviously you got the second waves in Europe as well, because obviously now you got the 14-day quarantine if you go to Spain. But it's weird because we never got a massive spike after people went to the beaches for the holiday. No, not holiday. No, the bank holiday
Yeah,
weekend in
I
April.
mean the thing is, it's a lot harder to catch it when you're outside anyway. Apparently, you know. So
Apparently,
yeah,
you can't catch it in daylight. It kills in the ultraviolet, so you're more likely to catch it in the evenings. So that will affect
uh,
night trade restaurants.
that explains that that all those Scottish pubs that have just been shut, then, doesn't it? Because they traced them back to one pub. Did you hear about that?
Yes,
That was literally on the news today. Yeah. So, talking of news, yesterday,
yes.
Beirut, man.
You know, Beirut.
Yeah.
Now that's a mother of all bombs. It's, uh, so
Explosions, not a bomb.
or explosion depends. Well, I'm quoting President Donald Trump because I went straight to his Twitter feed to see because he did a press conference, and he was talked about. He referred to it as the bomb explosion. He referred to it as a bomb, and one of the press journalists said, "Why you called it a bomb?" Because I spoke to some of my generals, and they said the way the way it exploded, the devastation. It was a bomb. It didn't look like a sort of like a some kind of manufactured factory or like a ship blowing up. It says it just the actual symptoms were of like a bomb. He
Yeah.
says he says several of his generals said that it was a bomb. But obviously, I don't know if that was true or he was just making it up. What's your thoughts on it? Because I find
Uh,
it. I've posted quite a few videos on our social media from different angles. It has that kind of you got the kind of cloud, and you got that kind of mushroom, and it just spreads out. It's
yeah.
like it's vaporizing.
So, just before I get into that, 'cause I probably can break that down. I've watched a lot of blah. I've watched a lot of Mythbusters, so and especially stuff on the compression wave of explosions. But um, yeah, the first one of the first things I saw on the news, ITV News, was saying it was a ship full of fireworks, and then and literally after saying that, he then said something like, "Oh, but it looks like something completely different." I went, "Why is the news saying something like that? This is where conspiracy theorists start. Someone's going to pick this up. Someone's going to look at what Trump said and go, oh, it must be something else." Um, then there was another story. It was something else, and then finally they've gone, "Oh, actually, no, it was this big warehouse full of ammonium nitrate that they've been storing that went up."
Does it not
Um,
look a bit suspicious? You've kept what's 2,750 tons badly stored away in a port where I don't know if people know about Lebanon, Beirut. That is the heart of the city. That's where all their manufacturing. That's where they distribute. That's where everything comes in. Water, food comes in from around the world. To keep it there, it's like of all the places to store it badly, you put it into the place where it'll cripple you and your economy and the
Appar
country.
apparently, explosives used in mining, um, ammonium nitrate is one of the top ones, although they're trying to phase it out because it can be used for all sorts of bad things. But apparently, America, it's the biggest, um, it's the most common form of explosives they use when they're doing mining, ammonium nitrate explosives. So I wonder if they were stockpiling it because they're one of the biggest exporters of it. Like you have certain metals that are used in batteries in China. They're sitting on um, like certain areas of the
Yeah.
country are good for coal. Certain areas of the country are good for tin mining. Just so happens that this stuff in batteries that's used in all these modern batteries now it's all on the uh, in the country of China. So they mine it and they do everything. They're quite clever when it comes to that. They go, Because you go to them, say, "Can I buy a load of that?" And they go, "What do you want it for?" They go, "To make batteries." They go, "You can buy it, but we'll make your batteries for you as part of the agreement. That's the only terms we'll sell it on." Therefore, they're keeping some. They're not just selling something; they're also getting money coming in because they can charge for manufacturing done in China as well.
It was stored for 6 years there, wasn't it? 6 years it had its
It might just be stockpiling it. I don't know. Who's saying, are you saying that all that was there for 6 years, or was it coming in and out? Was it going through the
Well,
door irregularly?
that's the bit they're not very clear.
Exactly,
I've
exactly.
tried looking into it, and it's
But
the information that's coming out is clearly a lot of people saying it could be they've had problems with Israel next door because obviously I think the Israel were bombing talking about bombing them during the United Nations because the president of Israel was talking about all these places where Lebanon were building missiles. So he actually, if you posted a video where he actually says these are the places where they're storing all these missiles. I'm not saying it has anything to do with that, but it was during I think during the I'm not sure when the United Nations meeting was, but it was mentioned, and then lo and behold, a few months
yeah.
later, this devastation happens. But it's absolutely crippled the country. It will cripple the country.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely terrible, and the death rate and everything, and even the injury rate is. I mean, it's just you just saw flattened buildings for
Well,
I want to say miles, but yeah.
well,
But the blast was felt was heard in Cyprus
wow,
in the Mediterranean. That's talking about the blast wave though.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, so if you've got if you've got a little hand grenade or whatever explosive you've got, um, when it goes off, the blast wave does come off, and it's just like a perfect circle. Obviously, you don't see it underground, but it's like a perfect circle coming out. And when it's that big, that is condensing all the air together, and it's vaporizing the air and basically causing a cloud. If you look at some of the videos and some of slow motion ones are coming out now, you can see that that cloud's only around for a couple of seconds, then it disappears again because
yeah.
it is, yeah. So it's not like an atomic mushroom cloud where that stays up there for ages, doesn't it? Goes up into the atmosphere.
Mm.
So the similarities in the shape, but that's all really. And I sent you that wiki thing earlier today. I tried to copy and paste it. It didn't come through very well. But if you look on wiki or if you Google non-nuclear man-made explosions, I think it's ranked ninth in a list of ones that we know of, and above that, I think in place 7, there is another ammonium nitrate one, which was again another storage of it that accidentally went up. It was kept in these silos. So it's not the first time this has happened. It's just the first time this has happened in a city like that.
So if you don't store it properly, it can really come back and bite on the
Well,
backside.
I think it must have been a local fire. If you look at some of them videos, you can see why people think it's fireworks. You see all these little sparks.
Yeah, it's just sparking everywhere.
Yeah, and it looks like little fireworks going off. I mean, that was the other story. Someone said it was a munitions, but yeah, apparently it wasn't that. It was the
Well,
storage
as
of
of
ammonium nitrate. Unless the story changes again.
before we went live, I think the BBC were not BBC, it was Sky reporting 135 dead, 5,000 injured. So I think it was probably the death rate will climb massively after them 5,000 injured because the glass, the fire, and some of the videos I've sent you today, you think, oh my God, there's some of the people on fire and stuff like that. So it's going to go.
Yeah.
You can see the death rate increasing, but it's not stopping all the sort of like all the conspiracy theorists talking about who's
Oh,
done it,
I'm waiting
who
for it.
ignited it.
As soon as I saw that, I said to you, Andy's bracing himself for these conspiracy theories to come through again. And like I say, it doesn't help when the news speculate and say stuff like that.
Well, Twitter went into meltdown. Twitter,
You know.
went into meltdown. I was like reading it last night. I thought I had to put it down and go to bed because obviously you start reading one link and it takes you to another link and takes you to another. Before you, it's like you thought, oh, you've gone down a rabbit hole. You literally lost again.
Yeah. Cool. Well.
But no, I think over the next few days, I think it was things will start unfolding. But like I said, I don't think was helped by Donald Trump when he said it was a bomb. It was some kind
Yeah.
of bomb, like a terror attack, basically. And people are just
Yeah. Well.
already snipping into that.
Yeah. So, dude, don't know if you've noticed, Arnie's he's wearing his mask, ready to go to
Yeah,
shop.
I always had my
Answers in the chat if you know what that mask is from. So yeah, masks, Carlos. You wanted to put this on the agenda, so we'll let you go first, man.
The reason why I wanted to talk about masks is I'm one of these people. If it was up to me, I wouldn't wear a mask at all. I wouldn't wear one at all. That's my personal and honest, humble opinion. But I respect other people's opinions, and because a couple of days ago I was walking to work, and the up the streetway, and they've changed the streetway like cones, like people walking have to walk that way. People, it's literally when you go into like a Costa Coffee or a Cafe Nero, they put cones outside where which way you walk out. You walk left if you're going out, walk on the right if you're walking exiting. It's all confused. It's like a Formula One track. People and I went down the wrong way. I should have turned left, but I turned right, and I didn't have a mask on. And these couple were coming. They were like petrified. Go, oh, you can't walk down this way. You can't walk. You've not got your mask on. I went, what? And it's like this is like 9 o'clock in the morning, and they were petrified. So I had to go. Oh, I just thought, fucking hell. So I had to just turn back. This is me in the street turning back on a cone and going back the other way, so I could just bypass them, literally 2 or 3 meters that way. And I just realised how petrified people out there if you've not got a mask on, or if you walk left to go exit, walk right if you want to enter the building. And I just thought, wow. So I just thought, okay, just to put other people at ease, especially elderly people, I'll wear a mask if I'm going into a place where, if I'm going into like a well-known retail shop, to buy clothes and stuff. I know a lot of them you have to wear masks. But then the other thing I was coming across, it's amazing when I was in a queue going into a well-known clothing shop. There's about 4 or 5 of us waiting in a queue, one in, one out kind of thing. They were telling the rules, don't touch this, don't touch that. And the 4 guys in front of me all had cancer and they couldn't wear the masks. So I said, yeah, I've got my mask on, mate. I'll put it on as soon as I go inside. The 4 lads in front of me, they weren't together, they were just literally 4 lads. I'm assuming it's the manager saying, if you've got the mask, lads, no masks allowed. If you can't come here, you've got no mask. Oh, I've got lung cancer. The other guy had throat cancer. One had bowel cancer. The other had some other cancer. We weren't right, and then the guy was asking for proof of sort of like from the doctor, you're exempt. Oh, I've left it on me emails, but I can't. Just thought everybody seems to have cancer now to avoid wearing masks. I just thought to avoid the problem, just wear the mask. You literally walked in, I bought a pair of trainers and I walked straight back out. You know what I mean? It took me literally 4 or 5 minutes to do that. But it just shows how people are refusing to wear it but coming up with these fake illnesses. And I just think it's making people's jobs even harder. It must be hard for this guy trying to, because obviously he doesn't know if they've got cancer or not. But I just find it weird at the rate. So if you speak to a queue of people, 80% have got cancer, 20% hasn't. So,
in the queue you were in, but yeah,
in the queue, yeah. But this is becoming quite regular. It was like it was in another well-known retail shop buying clothes as well. Same problem again. Everybody was coming with excuses why they can't wear it. Literally because of everybody's got asthma as well now. You've got cancer or asthma, and they can't wear it. They're exempt from wearing it. And that's the thing. It must be pissing a lot of people off. This.
There are these websites as well where you can go and print things off and hang it around your neck, and it basically, if you're wearing it, you've got a medical thing. You don't need any proof. You can just go and get it and hang it around your neck. Some people are charging for it, and they send you like a lanyard with it and everything as well.
What's your opinion? Have you worn a mask yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't have a problem doing it if you just. I mean, it's uncomfortable. So it's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient, but I just do it. Just do it. So Katie Hopkins had a video doing the rounds, and people were sharing it on social media, going, "Oh, I don't usually agree with a woman, but she's making some sort of sense." I did mean to send it to you, and I didn't get around to doing it. But basically, it's only a couple of minutes long. She's basically saying that the reason cases have increased is because testing's increased. That's why we're getting more cases. We're not. She's saying you're not really getting more cases. There's the same amount of cases, but we're
just doing more
identifying
tests,
more.
basically.
Yeah, we're doing more tests, but
That's what Donald Trump was saying about his.
yeah, he was originally. Yeah, I think she's just rehashing something he said a couple of months ago. But there's no evidence that we are doing more tests. In fact, the government haven't even been publishing the amount of tests we've been doing for
No,
about 5 weeks.
I think people have stopped
Because
listening.
because well, also I mean the main reason is they're saying it includes like health workers that get tested more regularly, so it inflates the number of tests. It's not based on individuals. So it might say 1 million people have had tests, but really it's not. There's just been 1 million tests. Oh, we've lost Carlos from the live stream. Try and get him back on 1 second.
Is it you've gone out? Because I'm back. I
Oh,
was always
you're
there.
back. You're back. No, your screen went. Okay, you're back. Uh, so, yeah. So what was I can't remember what I was saying. So
You talk about Katie Hopkins.
yeah, that was it. So I've definitely not seen any sort of mass stats that she can refer to back up what she was saying. It's just literally it's just hearsay. This number of tests that have increased.
She needs to keep busy, doesn't she? Because obviously she's lost the Twitter feed. I don't know if she's got a Facebook feed. She's lost Twitter, so she needs to stay in the public eye. So she's creating all these videos, and probably people are posting it on her behalf. I don't know what that happens to the people who are posting it, but yeah, it sounds like she's just. Sometimes Katie Hopkins is one of these people. She might talk a lot of sense sometimes, but she talks a lot of rubbish. That's why people deplatformed her, and that's why people don't want to listen to her. Because sometimes she might say something, for, oh, that might be interesting, but I think of all the gobbledygook she's ever said in the past, it's completely erases everything she has to say.
Yeah. Well, on Monday I just looked at the recent numbers anyway. So for just Manchester then. So obviously we're in a new lockdown, Manchester, and the reason being is last week we had 197 new cases reported. The week prior to that it was 94, so that's a 209% increase. So basically she's saying there should also be a 209% increase in the number of tests that have happened, basically to say that, to back up her facts. But she was also banging on about the fact that the reason the government are enforcing masks now, because they weren't ages ago, and all of a sudden they are. It's to make us reliant on something. We have to feel like we can't go out, and it's preparing us for the vaccine, so that, oh, I can't go out unless I've got a mask, and then what they'll do is they'll replace the mask with a vaccine. I can't go out unless I've had the vaccine. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's an easy thing to say.
It's like preparing for something bigger to come up, what's going to come along. It's what, to be honest, it's what the old military used to do. You sort of prepare someone, you put them in stages, and then when the big news comes, because obviously in the big people say you can remove the masks once you've had the vaccine. And I'll be honest, obviously, people say you can remove the masks once you've. I don't want to wear this mask because it's annoying. Your face is itchy. You can't breathe properly. You can't talk to people. You can't engage because obviously it's all muffled. So I think when people say we've got the vaccine, so it's going to be you don't have to have the vaccine, but you have to keep wearing the mask, or you can take the vaccine. I think 9 out of 10 people will choose the vaccine, and that's what people want. And
Yeah.
then that'll build another conspiracy theory. Why do you have to have a vaccine if it's your human right? If you don't want it, you don't have to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically I mean, the only reason she's got an argument, it sounds like she's got some sort of making some sort of sense there because the government have only enforced it recently. I feel like actually no, the government should have enforced it a lot earlier. The United States enforced it a lot earlier. There's a lot of things the government, in fact, there's court cases happening now because the government didn't react quick enough, and people caught the virus and died because they were just letting people come back from Italy, and there was no quarantine or anything because at the time their science advisors were saying there was no need. Oh, let's get herd immunity. It's not until someone in Oxford went, actually, you do realize it's going to be this amount of deaths if you let this amount of people catch it, and they went, oh, we can see now that the NHS isn't going to cope.
this is probably the only time I'm going to say this. I felt sorry for Boris Johnson because he's probably got the public opinion. He's also got the banking system, all the corporate FTSE 100 giants putting pressure on him. So who does he obey to? Who does he bow to? Because the banks are saying keep the economy going. The FTSE, the CEOs are probably saying we can't close, and these people are dying. He's probably on his desk every morning. He's probably got 3 or 4 manifestos. Which one does he believe? He's still there, Andy. I'm
Yeah, no,
getting
yeah,
stop start.
no, I am still there. I'm the same with you.
No, because
Your video
the
keeps
screen
dropping
went
at
the
my
screen
end.
went on.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Cool.
that's the FBI listening in, blocking us.
Yeah, we're having the same
But
trouble
no,
as
that's
Icke and
the
Road.
so they're bringing us down.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was the I lost trail of thought. That was the thing on the maths and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
obviously Boris Johnson and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, well, uh, the whole mass thing and the whole lockdown thing seems to have brought out a lot of so-called expert mathematicians on social media and expert conspiracy theorists on social media. Everyone's playing a game and quoting numbers. I've seen people quoting numbers like oh, actually, the death rate from, well, first of all, they're comparing it to the Spanish flu, which was the
Yes.
world 50 years ago, completely different world to what we're in now. 10 years ago, completely different world to what we're in now.
Don't think we had antibiotics when the Spanish flu was out. I could be wrong.
Um,
Don't think we
I,
had antibiotics.
I can't remember. I think we might have done, but there wasn't the same sort of movement that happens in this world, and there wasn't as many people on the world. Not everywhere wasn't as crowded. You know, uh, a lot's changed. So that people comparing that, people running, quoting stuff like, uh, the actual deaths from corona as little as 0.01%. I've no idea how they're coming up with these numbers. Um, for example,
But we
according,
think
go on.
are people sort of misleading are people sort of like getting these deaths wrong? Because some people are saying a lot of deaths are being manipulated, so they didn't die of COVID, so they died after testing
Yeah,
for COVID-19, or did they die of COVID? So if I got run over by a truck and I sneezed before I die, I go, Carlos's death was COVID-19, or
yeah.
was it the truck that ran over me that killed
Well,
me? And that's
Katie
the bit
says
where we
that.
need.
Katie's saying if you had a test and you tested positive and then you die weeks later for getting run over by a car, it'll still go down as a corona death. I think that's absolute rubbish. I don't think anyone's lumping those sort of things in.
Elon Musk said the same kind of thing. Elon Musk said it, but I
Did
don't
it?
know if he said it in jest.
Yeah. Well, she was saying England and Spain are doing that, and that's why England and Spain are higher than other. She didn't say the US were doing it, and where she's getting her evidence from that's actually happening, I don't know. I mean, when you do look into it, obviously figures are collated from thousands of different places all across the country. If you look at Sunday figures and Monday figures, they're always lower
Yes.
because of the way stuff gets reported and the way stuff gets collated and stuff. And they're,
Some of
and
the
they're
figures
constantly,
are weeks or months behind some of the figures.
yeah, they're constantly adjusting. Oh, we're just for this because we did do that, and then we're going to take these numbers off because we accidentally included them and things like that. So that, admittedly, that doesn't help. But even with a certain degree of error in their numbers, you've also got to remember things like, people are comparing the number of cases from, say, this week with the number of deaths that happened last week. It's like, well, you know, there's a week's worth of death figures there you're not including and things like that. So it's just, I mean, the actual stats on Monday were this is for the world,
Yeah.
right? So 12.3 million closed cases. That means people that have had it have recovered from it or they've died from it. Closed cases. So we're not looking at the other millions that have still got it at this moment. But the percentage was actually 6% death rate according to that. That's your world average.
That's quite high. That.
So it does feel quite high. But how they're getting 0.01, I don't know how, but I've literally seen people quoting that on social media.
I usually use the app, the obvious apps, what we've been using. I've not looked at it for a while because
Yeah,
we were
I,
literally on the decline, and then obviously now obviously if you go to Spain, you have to sort of like
yeah,
quarantine yourself. So I might start looking at it, and I think obviously that's why I joined the last weekend or so, a couple of weekends ago, or England imposed sort of local lockdowns. I don't know how that was obeyed. I don't think it was obeyed. I think people still were moving from homes to homes and stuff like that.
yeah. If anyone's been looking at the graphics on the left-hand side as well, there's a graphic going around about the likelihood of catching it if one person wears a mask and the other person doesn't. So there's an example at the top where neither of you wear a mask, you're 70% likely to catch it, and then if one of you wears a mask, it's this percent. If you both wear a mask, it's this percent, and then it follows it. It's hard to read because it's in yellow text. But in fact,
Yeah,
there's another example just there actually of the airborne transmission.
got what, three screens going here at once here, so I'm trying to
I know. I'm the same. I'm the same. But yeah, the reason I included that one where it says mostly false is because actually there haven't been studies. For someone to say, oh, well, this is a 70% case, this is a 5% case, this is 0.5%, 1.5% case. There's actually not enough studies. No studies have happened or have had time to go through and do all that. So yeah, if I looked on Snopes about that, and although theoretically it sounds plausible, I mean, my personal view is if I'm wearing a face mask and someone else is wearing a face mask, and either one of us have got COVID, it's less likely to transmit than if we're both stood here talking to each other, because yes, your breath might escape out the side of the mask and stuff, and okay, all these different types of face masks people are wearing might not catch certain particles, so COVID's still getting through. But any sort of um,
mask.
mask or face covering is going to reduce the distance that it travels. It's going to have it is going to have an effect. It's just that there's been no studies to prove, and that's what
So
the
I think it's
government are
better
saying
to
all
just
along.
catch it though. So if it's better to, the one thing I've been watching a lot of is Joe Rogan, and the one thing Joe Rogan says, which is I think is a very valid point because he's quite paranoid. He's always doing a test him and his family every single week. He says the one thing most governments don't talk about is your health. Sort of like do more exercise, don't drink more alcohol, don't eat fatty food, don't eat sugary food. A lot of my mates who were furloughed, they just sat at home playing on their Xbox. When one of my mates rang me up about 9 o'clock in the morning, go beer for breakfast. I'm obviously going to work. He's drinking all day. He says how many cans a day he does? He up between 10 and 15 cans a day. I'm doing about 30, 46 a day. I've got nothing else to do. So clearly that's going to affect your health. And you're going to make yourself a shitter immune system. The one thing the government have not spoken about, how to make your immune system much better. Because you can wear this mask, but if you've got a shite immune system, that's the thing what attacks it. So I don't know if I've had it. I don't know if you've had it or Nick's had it. So I think having a good immune system will probably help uh, keep the numbers down. But if you're vulnerable and you're putting your body under stress by drinking more, eating more shitty food, not exercising, your immune system's all over the place. So that's the one thing I got from the Joe Rogan message that no one's talking about health, how to stay healthy. It's how to avoid each other, how not to be in contact. It's a form of like keeping yourself separated from each other. They don't say, do a lot more exercise, eat healthier. I've never heard anyone talk about eating healthier or exercising more.
Well, you don't watch enough daytime TV then, mate. So
Not unless
I've been off this week, so it's been on a bit in the house. But yeah, this week especially, they've been talking about, there's quite a few people, and they even had a dig at the Help Out Eat Out campaign because things like McDonald's and stuff is not helping you lose weight, and
yeah, true.
really we should be eating healthy, and
They need to get the economy going though, don't they?
yeah, well, yeah. So, but yeah, you've had people digging at that. So definitely people are starting to talk about that. Carlos, see, it's 9:50 already. So
Okay.
Pentagon UFO, we mentioned it at the top. We need to squeeze this in.
Uh,
Uh,
so it's basically yeah, I'll get it up here. So the message was, I'm just going to put it on the
yeah,
Pentagon sort of like through the New York Times. So I make sure I'm reading the headline.
yeah,
Pentagon on UFOs. They are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. So Joe Rogan was talking about it. Bob Lazar, if people don't know Bob Lazar is the one who worked at Area 51. He was reverse engineering sort of
alien technology.
technology, or obviously technology which weren't of this world. So for the last 30 years, people have sort of been grilling him, saying he was a liar, he's a charlatan. But by this sort of like this headline and these stories, it's sort of like he's been vindicated. A lot of people have been talking about it because I think there's another one called Commander David Fravor, who's one of the ones you see on these videos. You see this like a dot, and there's like a pilot following all these dots. He was the commander. It's the same people who are doing all the Netflix commercial documentaries, I should say.
Right.
So that's pretty much I wanted. So are they preparing for us to say we're slowly drip feeding all this information to say, by the way, we are not alone in the universe, and you go, oh, I'm ready. Because if you dropped it, so oh, by the way, we've made contact with aliens, people would collapse. People would not say collapse, but people will get worried. Religion might collapse. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I know you've
Well,
got an opinion on it.
I've got a big opinion on this. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking in a second, man. You're not the first person to sum up that article in the same way. I've had other friends send it to me and go, "Oh, but we're preparing for an announcement. They're going to tell us. They're going to tell us." Right. I went to the New York Times, okay, and I'm gonna read because from it because I've got quite a few quotes. So if those people haven't read it and they've just read the headline, or they've read some other news media outlet that's rehashed it, um, might be interesting. They might be interested in what it actually says. So these are my thoughts on the article. So I'm gonna read different bits of it out and then my thoughts on the article, and then I went further and I had a look at some other websites that talked about the same article. So New York Times say, while retired officials involved in the effort, including Harry Reid, the former Senate Majority Leader, hope the program will seek evidence of vehicles from other worlds, its main focus is on discovering whether another nation, especially any potential adversary, is using breakout aviation technology that could threaten the United States. Okay, so retired officials, okay, if they're retired, doesn't sound like they work for the Pentagon, right? Former Senate leader, again, doesn't sound like he's a spokesperson for the Pentagon.
True.
So okay, so the main focus was other nations slash potential adversaries using advanced aviation technology. Um, Despite the other worlds comment, it doesn't sound like we're talking about off-world threats to me. But I'll come back to the other worlds bit. Also, some of the scrolling images on the right hand side, you can actually see that there's a tweet from Harry Reid himself saying that actually he's never said that the feds have UFO debris from other worlds, and we should stick to science and not stories about little green men. So he's basically saying that he was misquoted by the New York Times. So another quote from the article, different senator this time, Marco Rubio, the Florida Republican, told a CBS affiliate in Miami that he was primarily concerned about reports of unidentified aircraft over American military air bases, and that it was the government's interest to find out who was responsible. So, unidentified doesn't mean aliens. In
It means
fact,
unidentified, basically.
yeah. In fact, he expresses concerns that China or Russia have made some technological leap that allows them to conduct this sort of activity. Also, Rubio, another Senate, he's not the Pentagon, right? So we're going to try and narrow it down to where this Pentagon have released this statement. That's basically what I'm driving at. Yeah, that's what the headline says. The Pentagon have released this information. There's then mention of Mr. Elianzo, who is Again, I'm quoting a group. He's in a group of former government officials and scientists with security clearances who, without presenting physical proof, say they are convinced that objects of undetermined origin have crashed on Earth with materials retrieved for study. That's a quote from the article.
We can see it on the
So,
finger switch.
yeah. So, undetermined in origin, again, doesn't mean alien. An off-world, sorry, it doesn't mean alien or off-world. And you could read into the word former as a former government official or former scientist with former clearance. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, without further investigation into who he is and what group, whether he was a government official or a scientist, from that statement, I'm not sure. Again, doesn't sound like he's Pentagon.
Could it be one of them things where people put information out and they sort of try and retract it, so it's not like you're not scaring two people too much? It's like, because they put it out there, and if somebody uses the word Pentagon, you can get done for libelous, couldn't you? You literally said Pentagon. Say, I've not said that. Take it down.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, the Pentagon isn't an entity. I don't know.
I'd be worried. So I'd be worried if I put MI5 said this, and MI5 says I didn't say that. That's the headline.
All right. So back to the Times article. There's even a line in there that says, even lacking a plausible terrestrial explanation does not make an extraterrestrial one the most likely possibility, basically. You know, so even within the article, they're sort of going, well, you're not actually saying these are aliens, right? So we're getting closer to the Pentagon, though, right? As you read through. So I don't know if you actually read it word for word, Carlos, but you get down to a guy called Eric W. Davis, right? So he's an astrophysicist who worked as a subcontractor and then a consultant for the Pentagon UFO program since 2007. He said that in some cases, examination of materials had so far failed to determine their source and led him to conclude we couldn't make it ourselves. Okay, so he worked, not he works. He was a former subcontractor or consultant. Again, he's not an official Pentagon spokesperson. Because he's saying we couldn't make it ourselves. Who's we? Who's he talking about? Him, his team, people at the Pentagon, the CIA, the US, China, or does he mean humans? You know, right? Don't answer that.
We's the big word.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I've not finished with him, so we'll carry on. So according to New York Times, right, Davis now works for an aerospace corporation. Aerospace Corporation. That's the name of a company, as a defense contractor, and he said to have given a classified debriefing as a Defense Department agency as recently as March about retrievals from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Okay, my skeptic senses were tingling then, because there it is. That's the magic quote: off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
Who's the person you said you wrote this? Who's the person? The one I had in it.
Eric W. Davis.
Anthony Gareffa. Anthony Gareffa wrote the one I was reading. Anthony Gareffa.
Okay, so were you not reading the New York Times one?
Yeah, this is from the New York Times reports classified Pentagon trending. Anthony Gareffa. So obviously it might be different journalists talking about it.
Okay, so even the New York Times can't agree. So, in my opinion, off-world simply means off the planet Earth, but is still human origin. If you've been looking at the images on the right as well, you'll see a tweet that basically saying that Davis would definitely have lost his clearance for blabbing about these sort of things. I totally agree with that. And who is Davis anyway, right? So I went on to Metabunk to see what. Well, I didn't go on to Metabunk. I just did some Googling. I ended up on Metabunk, who also broke down the article as I did. So before I get into what they say, I'll quickly also mention I found a video of a talk Davis did in 2019, and I think it was actually linked in the Metabunk article. That might be how I ended up there. And I basically watched 20 minutes of it, where he's got a screen behind him of all these materials that they've found, retrieved, and he basically says some of these are extraordinary materials, and some of them aren't. And he's talking with a slide behind him, and he literally doesn't even discuss one of them. He just keeps babbling on. He just keeps talking. He doesn't do any tests, go into any of the tests that they've done on it, any of the properties, nothing. He's just like a professional spokesperson, because actually within that 10-20 minutes I listened to, he didn't actually put any sort of evidence or anything forward. It was a bit weird. He was talking talking about things where he was not offering any proof of. It was really strange. If you go and have a listen to it and actually try and tell me what he was talking about, because he literally was going on about the fact that he refused to break his NDA that he signed up for. So again, he mentions the NDA. I think that
non-disclosure agreement, just in case people don't know what it means.
Yeah, that's what it means. So that links in with the with that tweet. So anyway, I went on to Metabunk, and it basically says, agrees with me. Eric Davis, he's not the Pentagon. He's actually a scientist at Earth Tech. Okay, Earth Tech. That sounds very good. They're very scientific. Sounds like he knows what he's doing, right? Earth Tech, basically composed of two people: Harry Puthoff and Eric W. Davis, right? So, but didn't New York Times say that Davis worked for aerospace? Well, he's not on the aerospace employee list, and he's still on the Earth Tech website and the Earth Tech LinkedIn pages, which is this company he's got. It's like me and you setting up a company called Space Tech, Carlos. We're not scientists. We just create a company, and we can blab about anything we want, right? Make it up as we go along.
Sounds like what they did today, Bob Lazar, started debunking them.
Right. Well, Puthoff, his partner, he's well known apparently in the skeptical community. I'd not heard of him before, but apparently he was fooled by Uri Geller, right? He actually thought that Uri Geller had psychic powers when he was just using conjuring tricks to basically bend spoons. In fact, while he was working for AirTech and this Uri Geller business, Davis as well sounds like he was suckered in by Uri Geller. So there's a bit in there about explaining why the military will sometimes fund like strange or speculative research projects, and it's sort of like just in case. I mean, MK Ultra is a good one. We talked about that in our podcast, right? When they started MK Ultra, they didn't know there was anything in it, right? It was just a weird random theory. So sometimes they'll do stuff, and sometimes it's stuff like, and this is the sort of stuff Davis has been involved in, according to Metabunk, is things like space elevators, researching space elevators, an easier way to get off planet rather than using shuttles and things. Laser powered spacecraft. I've heard of that a long time. That's like basically you put a laser up and the spacecraft's above it and it pushes the spacecraft up. Apparently it works with very light, like tinfoil type structures.
The elevator, apparently a lot of people talk about the elevator could have been a good idea, that one.
Yeah. So it's very science fiction-y type background as well, but it's also plausible, because if you can get stuff up there, if you can get materials up there, it makes what you can do in space a lot easier and a lot less expensive, because you've not got all this fuel trying to get it up there. However, in apparently, I'm going to quote this. So he also did a teleportation physics study in 2004, which is a quote is borderline.
Who's this? Uri Geller or the guy?
No, this is Davis. Yeah, borderline ridiculous. It said. But basically, this teleportation physics study literally is based around Uri Geller's conjuring tricks. In fact, when it was peer reviewed by other scientists, they basically said that the teleportation report raises questions of scientific quality control. So In fact, James Randi, if you've ever heard of him, if
I
you look him
sent
up,
a video to you about a documentary on him on Amazon Prime as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
James Randi. Yeah,
yeah.
the
James Randi, he's quite good at stuff like that, about how magic tricks can be seen as conjuring because you just don't know it is just a trick.
yeah,
You
it's
don't
it's
know
just
what's
it's
going on.
manipulation. It's
Yeah,
it's, it's
yeah.
manipulating your surroundings and the people.
So basically, they concluded the same as me that actually this New York Times thing, there's no announcement from the Pentagon or any other government entity, and we shouldn't be expecting any sort of announcement in any sort of any time or ever. Basically, that the feds are going to tell us that green men are real. Basically,
But if they did mention it, 2020 would be an awesome year.
they're saving it. They're saving it for 2021, mate. It's I keep putting when people keep going about how bad 2020 is, I keep putting little alien graphics into the social media feed saying, yeah, but this is 2021, a little alien going past.
Oh, it's just this year. One thing about 2020 will be part of history. This will be your children's children will talk about it. We'll be part
Oh,
of it.
yeah. Yeah, we're going down in the history books. So, but have I changed your mind on any of that? Do you still think the Pentagon really had anything to do with
I'll
that
probably just
article?
it won't change my mind because obviously because I know people put information out there and then start retracting it. So a lot of the things where you're talking about is Bob Lazar, where he didn't mention, but how they put his information out and they start debunking him. He worked for a fake company. He set this up, and he didn't work for Alamo. So it sounds familiar what you're saying there, the way they did it with Bob Lazar. So they'll put information out there, then they're trying to debunk them. It's a bit like try but don't taste but don't swallow. Always put an obstacle. They don't want to tell you the full fat version because people, if they didn't, I'll be honest with you, religion would collapse. Religion would collapse. I don't mean literally collapse, but people will start questioning their faith. I thought we were the chosen race, where there's extraterrestrials out there which are far superior than us. So clearly, God loves them better than us. So religion would be first to sort of question itself. But the
So
Vatican are already saying we'll welcome aliens in.
exactly, I was going to say. So some religions like the Vatican are already changing the rules and saying, well, if there are aliens, God created them as well. So
So I'll be ready to
yeah,
go.
exactly. So yeah, cool, man. Right, we've overrun the hour.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes over. So sorry,
Yeah,
peeps, but we enjoyed it.
yeah, it's quite cool. We had a number of other things to chat about. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do a live stream every Wednesday and every Sunday at 9 p.m. Obviously, every second Wednesday at the moment is taken up with the official recording of the
Yeah,
podcast. One day we might move that onto Twitch as well, but at the moment it's easier
do this one in,
doing
one
it
out.
doing it without the extra complication of videos and things like that. So that's it. Do you want to say goodbye, Carlos?
Goodbye, Theo Cons. I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't forget to follow us for future notifications. Stay safe and peace, love, and Randy.